Let's talk about subqueries. So subqueries allow you to do a query within a query. It's queryception. Let's say you wanted to query all of the comments left by someone named Maynard. I don't know, maybe that seems useful to you. We don't actually have that available to us, and there's no really useful way to join on that. So what we can do is we can do a query to find Maynard's user ID and then use that user ID to query for all the comments. So we can say select comment ID. Let's just make this on multiple lines. Comment ID, user ID, and our comment left comment 20 from comments where, and then here you're going to say user ID equals, and then I'm going to put parentheses. This is a way of me signaling to SQL, I'm going to do a query within a query. And I'm going to start writing another query in here. Select user ID from users where full name equals Maynard Simonich. Simonich? Simonich. So then I'm going to close that subquery, and then I'm going to put a semicolon to signal the end of the query altogether. So now you can see here, this will go and run, this query gets run first. It's going to go out to users. It's going to find this person's user ID. It's going to return that, and then it's going to be used in this query to find all of their comments. So that's all you need to know here. If you need to do like a subquery to go get something first, just put parentheses in here. You can nest them as much as you want, so you can have queries inside of queries inside of queries. That's how you do subqueries in SQL. Let's get into group by. So now we're getting into what we were using the aggregation pipeline for in MongoDB. SQL kind of just has it built into the language, so there's no differentiation between the two. But let's talk about group by. So I'm going to say select boards.board name. Yeah, so let's talk about first what we're going to do with group by. We want to find the top 10 most posted to boards. So we want to go query the boards table, find all the boards, and then we want to go look in the comments tables and figure out which one has the most amount of comments. So we're going to use group by to figure out that kind of aggregate number of comments per board, and then we're going to do a group by with that. So we're going to see our friend count star again to just count how many of each one that we have, and then we'll just call that as comment count. Select boards.board name count star as comment count from comments. Here we could say inner join on, or I'm just going to say natural inner join because I know this is going to work. Boards. And then we're going to say group by, so we're going to tell it how to aggregate things together. Boards underscore board name. You could do this probably on ID as well. It should work. Then we're going to say order by. This is how you do sorting, right? Order by comment count descending because we want the top 10. And then we're going to say limit 10 because we only want 10 results back. And then you can see, again, these board names were auto-generated, so I don't really know what is which one. But the cloned and the budgetary management boards have 18 comments. These ones all have 16, through 13, right? And if you wanted to see ascending, you can see here this one has 4. But we have a problem here. So think about this for a second. This query that we ran right here. What happens if a board has 0 comments? And actually, let me tell you, there is a board in here that has 0 comments because I went and made sure of it because I wanted you to discover this problem. Because we're doing inner join, what happens when there's no match? It gets left out of the data set, right? So what do? What do we want to join? Yeah, go ahead. Hold on, I think I have you muted. One more time.
You want to left join?
Close. We want to right join on this particular problem, which is super weird. And I know I said you almost never use right joins, and then I just turn around and slap you with a right join. But that's what I did. But I like where your head's at. It's exactly the kind of thinking that you want to go through. So awesome. So we're going to do a natural right join because we want to include the boards, right? So left would be on comments, right would be on boards. And that's where we want to get the thing with that could be left out. So now we have fire, and it says it has 1 comment, but we know that's not true, right? It doesn't have 1 comment, it has 0 comments. Why is that? Well, that's a problem because it's including something. It's including that board with nothing on it, and it's counting that in our count star. So this count star, it's called an aggregation function, aggregation pipeline. Hopefully you're seeing some parallels here. It's just counting all of the lines, and there's a line being included from that one, which is not the right thing. So what do we actually want to count? We don't want to count any row. We want to count rows that actually are really comments, or we can just count comment IDs, right? Because if it has a comment ID, it's definitely a real thing in comments. So I'm going to say comment underscore ID. Lo and behold, this fire board must be about the fire festival. Doesn't have any comments, right? But I wanted to show you how to kind of like work through some like mental gymnastics of SQL bugs, because this is the kind of stuff that you kind of have to think about when you're dealing with SQL. You have to be, it's like, what am I including? What am I not including? Where's the data going and where and why, right? Because it would have been super easy, one, for us to just exclude this board altogether, and then it would have been super easy for us to say, oh, there's 1 comment in this, despite that there's actually 0 comments in this. Any questions before we move on? The question is when is limit evaluated, right? So if I do a join, does the limit get calculated first, or is the join, am I going to be cutting things off before I'm using them? There is a particular order of operations with SQL that I do not remember off the top of my head, and I have to look every single time. This one, I think I'm pretty sure limit is the last thing, so it does everything first, and then it just returns to you the first 10 rows of that. I'm about 95% on that one. Do check my math. But if you just search for SQL order of operations, it'll give you a pretty complete breakdown of here's the complete order of how things are evaluated.